Yeah. Well, I knew it was something like that.
You are unpaid.
And we are live. We are recording, anyways. We're not live. Welcome to the Canadian Bro Show. This is the second iteration of the Canadian Bro Show, all basketball from the Hoop Junkies, Pauly and Rolly. We are happy to say that we have a new episode, episode 18. And episode 18, we want to talk about the impending, well, it is March, and
It's
we want to
hard.
talk about March Madness, college hoops, both female and male, explodes onto the scene, and there's so much going on. Trent's going to go into the ladies. Yesterday was a busy day for him. He put in a full 24-hour day of March Madness and more, from what he just told me. And then we're going to talk about of course, the Yahoo NBA fantasy hoops and the waiver wire unconnected. We want to talk about the NBA also in its final 22 game stretch. We want to do a little blurb on the MVP and who we think is leading the MVP. Not
Oh,
getting in.
Canada.
What's that?
Oh, Canada.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into the only Canadian professional basketball league currently is called the CEBL, and I want to enlighten people that don't know very much about the CEBL, the Canadian Elite Basketball League. There's 10 teams in Canada, and talk a little bit about the rules, the timing, and the franchise expansion, potentially in my hometown, my almost primary residence, my home away from home in Kelowna. So, in the meantime, my name is Paul Bale. I am the host and the founder of the Canadian Bro Show. And I just want to switch this transition. There we go. And my co-host with the most, although he's removed it from his name,
Oh,
is
two down there. What the heck?
the legend, Mr. Trent Rowley. Trent, how you doing in St. Paul, Alberta?
I'm doing wonderful, man. It's a little bit
Excellent.
cold again. There's the co-host with the most. There it is.
There you go.
Technical, technical. Just geniuses over here.
Well,
Life
that's
is good. Gonna go play
Trent.
basketball tonight. Zones is coming up for the high school teams to try to get to provincials in Lloydminster this weekend. So I'm gonna go watch a few games. I got 8 boys that I coached via junior high that are all in that play on the senior team.
Yeah.
5 of them are graduating this year, so I'm just going to go and watch a few games this weekend just to show them some love. I'm glad
Cool.
that they kept playing. Um, the coach there, Brandon Strachey, is bringing a few of us over that play men's together to play kind of little 5-minute controlled scrimmages against them tonight, just to have a little bit of fun with them, and get to help, a little bit of a different voice for some of them for, what they're doing out there and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. It'll be fun tonight too. So I'll be. We gotta get this done. So I gotta get some stretching in because if I don't stretch,
Well, it's
you know, I might be in my bed doing the next episode of this show.
it's funny you were reading my mind because that's exactly what I was going to suggest.
So,
As you can see in the ticker below, our new episode 18 is we're doing. Trent's going to open with some March Madness, the female basketball all day. Trent was putting in a 24-hour day of hoops
I
and
would not.
more and
Yeah,
more.
just on TV. Yeah, I just was flipping channels. There was, I think, 3 NCAA games on, a couple NBA games on. I'm not gonna lie, I watched more of the NCAA than I did NBA, but
Yeah.
just for the reasons.
Well, it's March Madness. I mean,
It's just
this
fun to
is
watch women's and men's hoops. I'm a Michigan State guy for men's hoops, and they won last yesterday and beaten Michigan. So they're like I said, all those tournaments start this weekend. The women did theirs this weekend, their
yeah.
conference tournaments, and the men's are all this week and into the weekend. So there's hoops on TV, college hoops on TV all week this week from 9 a.m. in the morning till 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and even some night games. ACC, SEC, Big Ten, Big 12. It's awesome. It's gonna be
Well,
great.
we're going to take a big
Basketball
dive.
game.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about hoop junkies. This show is all about hoop junkies, and we're a couple of hoop junkies.
Yeah,
So,
man.
Trent, let's start off on what captured your imagination from yesterday.
Well, yesterday we had USC and UCLA playing for the Big Ten championship. They're new to the Big Ten, coming from the Pac-10 or Pac-12 now, whatever they want to call it. So they're playing in, all these teams are changing divisions because of the money involved.
Yeah,
So they were in the Big Ten final yesterday. USC with Juju Watkins had beaten UCLA both times this year. One time UCLA was the number one seed in the country. I think UCLA finished like 26-2, and their only 2 losses were to USC. They were down like 14-15 in this game, and I was texting the person I've coached with before, and I said, "Man, if you can't get a rebound or play some defense here, like they looked like they were a bucket away from giving up, and all of a sudden, cut timeout, little momentum, and they ended up winning by 6 or 8. UCLA did. So I have
Wow.
a feeling
Wow.
UCLA will probably be a number one seed somewhere in the tournament with South Carolina. Again, three straight SEC. I mean, Dawn Staley, just the recruiting she's done, the program that she's built at South Carolina is rivaling, I would say, probably even better than Gino Irama at UConn. I
Wow.
think if people want to look back at Gino, my one like with UConn, and then UConn with Paige Beckers, I mean they're going to be a number one seed. I think they're number one in the country right now, if
Yeah.
not number
Yeah.
two. So they'll be a number one seed. But the only thing I would say about Gino, it's like what we talk about in
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
the top five players aren't just going to UConn anymore. They're going everywhere else. Well, what does Gino Ariamo really have? He hasn't won anything since that stuff has started to change, right? Which I'm glad. I mean, they had three straight seasons. I think they were like 122-0. Well, it's not even what's the point of me watching? Why? How can I even be captivated knowing that here's what the result's going to be? Because they're recruiting all the best players were going to UConn. So when I got to hear Brianna Stewart and Diana Taurasi and those guys say, "Oh, well, I won this many, national championships and now Olympics," and all, dude, you were at the best team in college and it wasn't close with all the best players.
Yeah.
That team's not happening in the last 3 years now with NIL and players moving and just recruitment. Players are willing to go other places, right?
It kind of
So
reminds a very good point, and it kind of reminds me of, the Harlem Globetrotters over decades against the Generals and whoever else was the sad.
exactly,
And I think the Generals actually won twice in history, but it was 99.8% winning
yeah,
percentage. What's the point of going seeing the same routine
yeah,
for 4 or 5 days? When you're a kid, it's awesome. I get
that's
it.
great. It was wonderful as a kid.
And especially, when we were younger, when all, Curly Neal and all of the real rock stars
Yeah,
of the Harlem Globetrotters, and that was absolutely exciting. But everything since, forget about it. So it's a really good point.
and so this
So
year you probably have like 10. You could probably take your pick of I would say 6 to 8 teams, maybe even 10 in the women's side that have a legit chance. I mean, TCU with Haley Van Lith, she transferred from LSU last year. She was at Louisville the year before. LSU just wasn't a great fit, and then she got lit up in Elite Eight by Caitlin Clark. And Iowa had beaten her when she was at Louisville as well. But she went to TCU this year and had just a great rebound season. She won Big 12 Player of the Year.
that's Texas Christian University, is that right?
Yeah, the Horn Frogs. Christian University called the Horn Frogs.
I
How's that
mean,
work?
I don't know.
So
Don't lick the horn frog. Whatever
so
happened, don't do that.
so she went there, was Player of the Year in the conference, and they won against Baylor by 4 yesterday in their conference final. So after watching the USC UCLA game, I watched the last quarter of the Baylor TCU game. So yeah, so college they should be doing their stuff this week when they pick everybody's. I don't know. I don't think they have them all picked quite yet, but that bracket should come out pretty soon. And then again, the madness continues with the men this whole week. I mean, Duke, North Carolina, Iowa State, Memphis, Texas Tech, Auburn, Florida. I mean, there's Alabama. I mean, there's so many good teams.
Oregon Ducks.
Oh, yeah, there's just so many good teams. Even my Michigan State, even my Sparties, man, they're a team of 3 to 4 year players always. I've always rooted for them. I think it's more because of Tom Izzo. I just really like that coach. I like what he
Yeah,
stands for. All the
yeah,
kids that he's not getting all the top recruits. He's getting 5-star athletes from their state, but he's not getting a lot of out of state guys all the time, the top ones. But they're not paying as much NIL money. I think he looks at more. He hasn't had a lot of one and done players. He's only had a couple, and a lot of his players are third and fourth year for guys. I just like how he coaches. I like what he stands for. He seems to, of course, he's a little old school, but I think he loves his kids and the program, and it
yeah.
shows in how hard they play on defense. And so they'd be an upset to win a little bit more. They've had a kind of a surprisingly good year. So
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what they do in the tournament. But,
Another good coach I didn't know much about, and trying to take over from Coach K, the legendary retired
yeah,
coach of Duke. This guy's done an unbelievable job,
well,
really incredible. I had no idea who he was. I did a little research, and
he played.
I mean that those are big shoes to walk into right
Yeah,
there.
and he played there. He's part of the Duke culture, right?
Yeah, of course. Well, that's one of the reasons why it's been being accepted, right? I mean, the Indiana job's up, and you see people lined up for it. Oh yeah, there's a lot of people, but honestly, they're not going to take just anybody. They've got to find the right person that can handle that type of program.
Yeah,
And
Indiana's a big deal for sure, and they haven't been a big deal for a long time, but
that's
it's
right.
still one of those. It's still one of those blue blood,
Yeah,
uh, uh, teams. It just is.
yeah,
It's programs.
yeah,
It's been around for a long time. It won a
yeah.
lot, right? They've
A
been
lot
on
of
the dust.
history. Yeah,
Yeah, tons of history,
a
right?
lot of
So
pressure.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it would be a fun place to go watch a game, actually, in
Oh
December.
God. Yeah,
Ruckus
yeah.
there.
That would
So,
that would be awesome.
but yeah, Indiana again. Yeah, there's some of those. I mean, even Kansas this year. UConn, after winning 2 in a row, they went from being like preseason number 1 or 2, and they're not even ranked in the top 25 right now.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be in the tournament. They got the Big East tournament this week. I mean, they still have a good team. They just blew out Seton Hall on Sunday. So I watched a
Right.
bit of that game, but I only watched it once it got to like a 25-point game. I'm like, I don't need to watch this. This
Yeah.
game's over. Thank you very much.
No.
But no, the madness is always great. For me, it's always this is a fun fact for people, so they get this, and you might not have known this either, so you'll probably get a chuckle out of this. The first Thursday and Friday of the tournament, of the NCAA tournament, so next Thursday and Friday, like not the one coming up. This is Monday today that we're recording.
Right.
In a week's time, in a week and a half's time, that Thursday and Friday, there's games on from 9 a.m. all the way until 9 p.m. all day. There's a little bit of a break in the afternoon, but outside of that, there's games on television all day. Well, it is the highest percentage of vasectomies are done on those 2 days in America, in North America.
Where do you dig that shit up?
I love it. I can't remember where I got that stat. It was somewhere, and I heard it years ago because I remember getting my vasectomy. But guys go for their vasectomies on that Tuesday, Wednesday, and I can't be at work, so I can sit and ice my junk while I watch basketball for
Oh, that's funny. Now I get it. Okay. That's a good
yeah, man.
excuse.
You get 2 full days of honey, I can't lift that, or I can't do
Yeah.
this, and I can just watch hoops all day,
Yeah.
like for two. And the first week for me, my favorite weekend of March Madness, like the tournament, is that first weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Again, basketball from 9 a.m. till 7 p.m. The last games start, kind of thing. It is all day. It's just it's a great pastime. It's the reason that it's so popular because people they make plans for this event, right? It's I think it's third or fourth when it comes to television every
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
It's one of the top rated programs sports wise the entire season every year when it's on, and it's great, man. It's
Yeah.
one and done.
Yeah.
It's not a best of seven. It's not. I love it. It's just one of the great spectacles for basketball. It really is. It's a great tradition.
Yeah,
So
it's gonna be an incredible weekend for sure.
yeah.
And so who do you have? Who you have any? Who's
uh,
gonna win?
as long as Duke doesn't win, I'm good.
Well, I
I'm
think
always
Duke is.
rooting
I
for
think
them to
Duke
win.
is gonna win.
I would love to see somebody like kind of a middle team. I'd love to see Michigan State do it, but I'd love to see somebody like Iowa State, um, even somebody like Alabama. Auburn would be fun just for them to get a little farther because Charles Barkley's an Auburn alumni, so you get to see
Yeah,
TV, so it makes it a little more fun that way. But
I don't
Alabama,
know. I don't
see,
know about Auburn. I honestly,
well,
I watched that game against Kentucky last week, and I was not impressed. I wasn't. I expected more. I don't know what I expected.
they go
Um,
through big lulls on offense. I just
oh
don't
my
think
God,
so.
it
They're
was so
older.
boring. It was like,
Yeah, I like Alabama. Alabama's a really fun team to watch. I
yeah,
mean, Tennessee's a good team, but Alabama's a fun team to watch. It's up and down the floor, pressure man defense. It's I enjoy that. I enjoy Alabama. They're a fun team. Like I said, they're a fun team to watch. So I just want those types of teams getting further because then you start getting those games that are unfortunately you get a few upsets. It's always inevitable that one of those teams or two of those teams that pull those upsets get to a point where they just get cooked,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Somebody just works them over. It it happens all the time. So some of the upsets you're never a fan of because you see an upset. For me, I see an upset on Duke's side. Now I get in Duke, instead of having to play, somebody really good. Now they're playing, you know, Canadian State or something like that nobody's ever heard of, right? That's in the tournament for the first time. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
again, it's the best time for if you're a basketball fan. This month, the NBA is coming to an end. There's 18, 19 games left there. NCAA tournament starting,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So
No, it's exciting. It's going to be a great weekend. I'm looking forward to it myself.
you got something playing in the background?
It's just music in the background.
Get rid of it. It's bugging me.
Yeah, you don't say it during the show, bro.
I
What
just
a
did.
moron. Yeah, just keep it to yourself. Good
So,
lord.
but yeah, it's the best
So
time of.
that's it for your March Madness blurb.
I'm not going to pick anyone. I just don't know who to pick. I think in the women's side, I mean, South Carolina is probably the team to beat, but you got a lot. There's easily 10 women's teams that if they won it, it's not an upset.
Yeah.
It's that competitive on the women's side. So, the one thing I do like about the women's side too, I know the men's will never go to it, but just because there's so many teams, is the first part of the women's tournament. The first two games, the reason you want to be a high seed, the first two games of the tournament are home games. They're not actually in a gym somewhere.
Right.
Home games for you. So now you've got that advantage as well, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
part I do like about the women's side as well, but I don't ever see the men go into that because of what they can sell. The men's game sells having, brackets in different regions. Right? So
Yeah. How did just out of curiosity, how did Juju do against UCLA
good game.
individually?
She had a good game. She had I can't remember exactly what she had for numbers. Honestly, it was I mean she had 16 in the first half, and then I think they kind of
Double
you know
teamed her every chance she touched it.
double teamed her a lot, and then again there's I think they couldn't make a shot. UCLA started playing a little bit better defense. Plus, they started rebounding. Like they gave up like 9 or 10 offensive rebounds in the first half. You're not winning when you're giving up. If you give up
No.
20 offensive rebounds in a game, you're not winning. You're not winning
I,
because those
I
are
often I often find with teams that are dominated by such an incredible player like her that really it comes down to she needs a second and third.
she does.
Just
Kiki Airfin is a really good player. The game
that's
before
one, but
25 and 11. Hey, the guards are decent. They all can hit open shots.
yeah,
I mean, they've got a good team. It's that I think sometimes what happens with them is unlike Caitlin Clark type of player. I mean, she is that type of player. Obviously, Juju is.
right,
But she's not the person bringing the ball up. And I think sometimes what happens is there's times I was actually talking to Balaj about this today. He drives him crazy to watch because he said they'll run down the floor and she'll run over to the wing or to the baseline
yeah,
and just stand there. And it's like they forget about her. It's like, guys, you have a generational type player on your team, like one of the best players in college basketball. She should have. I actually think, for me as a coach, especially once the fourth quarter came and they started to struggle, I'm giving her the ball to bring up because like you would know this as a point guard. I'm not a point guard, but if she's bringing it up and they want to have that double team strategy,
yeah,
9 times out of 10, because she's such a good basketball player, she's going to make the right play, and now you have numbers, right? If you want to double her every time like that. In the half court and you double her, well, it's easy to scramble around on D and have her make a tougher pass. Well, if you try to double her when she's bringing the ball up, you're going to be outnumbered a lot. There's going to be a lot of open shots playing it
you
right,
know,
and she's
and,
going to make
and
the right play.
that was a really good comment about not being a point guard. And when I had to learn to, I mean, I knew how to play point guard, but I was a scoring guard. And when I played professional at 30, I realized the only way that I would get a contract and stay a professional for the time that I could play was to really embrace the point guard
Right.
role and get into the mindset of being a true point guard for the first time in my life, really, and run the show, be the coach on the floor, be a leader, and provide, get everybody the rock, drop
Yep.
dimes, and when people drop off or go under screens, pull the three, because that's one thing everyone knew I could do. That's one of the reasons why I was in the league, in those leagues, was because I could shoot it, I could score. But really, at the end of the day, it was when there was a double team situation, when I used to get double teamed all the time. The key as a point guard is to see the floor, and where that double team is coming from is going to be probably weak side, and the key is to move that ball just when they think they're going to double you. And then as soon as you've beaten that double team, split them and go right to the basket. And you can get an easy layup because they're
Right.
just not prepared, right? Usually it's you drag them out
Right.
and then
Yeah.
cut back door. And so, I mean, it just takes somebody to really read the floor and understand the game really
She's
well.
gonna she's gonna make the right play. She
Oh,
should
for
be
sure.
honestly, I look at Clark's numbers, and there's 8 assists every year. I look at Juju, and it's 4. She
Yeah.
easily could be averaging that in assists. It's
Oh, yeah.
just that I think sometimes it's like they just forget about her, almost. Like, she doesn't touch the ball all the time. That's the person that needs to touch the ball every time, unless it's a layup somewhere
A-
else. She's
And
just
that happens more often than not with
just
teams
so tired.
because a lot of their teammates get a little bit jealous
Of
as
course.
well, and they think that they contribute. But when that gal as good as she is,
Oh.
honestly, if she's open, I get her the rock. If I'm a point guard, every
Yeah, she's
time.
such a good player. But I
Oh,
think that there's one coaching strategy they could have changed is that once the game got close again, let her have the ball bringing it up. And now if
yeah,
UCLA wants to double, you know it because of the player she is, she's going to make the right pass. You just
yeah,
know that. I mean, and of course, once in a while it won't be, but overall, law of averages is she's going to make the right play. So I would love to see USC get quite a. I mean, they should. I mean, I'd love to see those two teams play again for a fourth time. Their games have been pretty entertaining.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, the player to watch for sure. I mean, all eyes are going to be on her. I mean, she's been again. The WNBA just got Michael Jordan last year. In 2 years, they're getting Kobe Bryant. That's Juju Watkins,
yeah, yeah,
and that's I mean, plus like I told you, all these other girls that are coming in. Like this is, and again, just to probably end the segment, I hope that these women in the WNBA they're about to screw this up. This idea that some of them are with the CBA coming next year. The idea that they think they should be getting paid like the men or
yeah,
even
yeah,
more. It's like guys, even with Caitlin Clark, first of all, television everything went up, ratings and all that stuff. But that's only one player.
yeah,
You can't. You lost 38 million dollars last year. The NBA is subsidizing you.
yeah,
You can't think that I should be getting X amount of dollars when you're losing money, right?
yeah,
So thanks for that 1.8 GPA that you got just while you played basketball instead of focusing on school and business. You might realize that that's not how businesses work. So I
no,
hope they don't screw it up. And I got a bad feeling that they're going to. I hope they don't. I hope they have a really good season this year and it drives up numbers again so that pay is there. But it's
yeah.
not going to be just this crazy exponential number that they think they
No,
can.
and it's really important to communicate that for people that aren't aware. It's absolutely important. And going into our next segment, a very nice job, Trent, and it's exciting. I'm looking forward to the weekend coming up, and looking forward to a continued March Madness through the next few episodes we do. In the meantime, let's go back to before we get into the final 22 games of the NBA or thereabouts, depending on their schedule. Let's go back to fantasy Yahoo NBA fantasy basketball and talk about our league that both Trent and I have drafted in under the banner of the Canadian Bro Show, just above Trent's head there, the Canadian Bro Show, all basketball from the Hoop Junkies, Pauly and Raleigh. Here we are. I'm Paul
Here we
Bale. That's Trent Raleigh.
are.
Trent, Monday, all the new, so comes in the number one player in the league. So far, all six teams in our league have been chosen for playoffs, which
Yep.
is out of the 8 leagues that I'm in.
Right.
This is the only league where all six teams out of the 10 are actually in the playoffs. So you know who you're going to be meeting. Trent's done really well coming from last place, or I was actually last place, but
Sounds good.
he is just really, he's in second place, very strong second place
Yeah.
with
2 games behind.
a 99 win, 62 loss, one tie, a winning percentage at 614, which is very good. You're a game and a half out of first place
Yeah.
with a 7-2 week. Your waiver wire is 9, and you've done 49 moves. You're in a really good position to be meeting the My Disastrous team, who's 91 and 70. I creeped in after a really horrible week last week. I'm in fourth place in the playoffs as well at 92 and 70 with a 568 percentage, 9 games back. So there's some work I need to do. I really, do you want to avoid the guy in the first place? Well, he's going to go. He's probably going to get a buy anyways.
Hey, I
Wow,
might get a buy. I'm only two.
you
Him and I
you
are playing this week, so I might be able to get that.
you both get buys,
Oh,
probably.
that would be great. That would be
Yeah,
wonderful.
that's a bonus, but it also can be a bit of a hindrance with
Yeah,
injuries and things that crop up and you're not playing. And anyways,
for sure.
so the whole point is we're both in the playoffs, which is
Yeah,
great. Trent's got a really good chance to compete for a championship. Really I'm really hoping just to get a bronze or a silver or a gold trophy for second or third, and at least make it competitive. And if we both can get trophies or medals, that's the whole point. It's been quite a difficult fantasy year, not a usual fantasy year by any means,
there's a
but
lot
in
of
the
fun.
meantime, it's been pretty good. And that's just sort of an update on Trent's team, Filthy Manimals. I try to say that 5 times, and my
Guilty.
team is called Hoop Junkie. True to the name of the show. And also, I just want to talk about as we're heading into week 18 of the NBA fantasy. There's a lot of things you have to take in consideration with the fantasy. And one I'll just talk about. I don't normally talk about it, but for many fantasy managers, the playoffs begin during week 19. Now we're going into week 18 as of Monday today,
Yep.
and this show will be uploaded later today after the episode is filmed. Numerous teams have seemingly chosen their path for the rest of the season, whether that's go all out for a playoff spot or rest or begin resting proven veterans, which unfortunately really destroy the fun in NBA Yahoo Fantasy when these
Yeah.
teams just they
Yeah.
sit everyone in
Yeah.
favor of rookies. It can really destroy our teams and where we are in our leagues and begin to prioritize their younger player development, which hence is the excuse for them to do that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it drives me insane. I'm not a big fan. Although
Load
young
management.
yeah, and it's bullshit as far as I'm concerned. I can't stand it. It should be fined by the league. And but at the same time, I understand the importance of younger player development, obviously, and that will make for a very interesting playoff week. And some unfamiliar names, many unfamiliar names right now. I don't even know who these guys are. Names will be added in importance. And here's a look at the week 19 schedule breakdown. This is very important for people that are in the playoffs and people that are competing for the teams, the four teams that are out of it. I hope they give up their players and we can scoop whatever we can shrapnel we can find for the stretch run. But in the meantime, there's only one team that plays 5 games this week, and that's Brooklyn.
Right.
So you might want to consider loading up. I honestly, I don't know who you're going to load up because they've got like 17 players I've never even heard of. That's not true. I picked up Claxton. I was lucky enough to grab him, and he's playing quite well. And then 4 game teams. You want to look at if you're doing the waiver wire connected, which is what we're leading into. You want to look at teams that are playing 4 games, and that is Atlanta, Boston, Charlotte, Dallas, Denver, Houston, Indiana, the Clippers, the Lakers, Memphis, Miami, Milwaukee, OKC, Orlando, Philly, Phoenix, San Antonio, Toronto, Utah. Don't even bother with Utah and Washington. And then 3 games, it's Chicago, Cleveland, Detroit. Stay away from the 3 games if you can.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, keep those into consideration while you're working the waiver wire connected. And getting back to Brooklyn, a lot of people are going to say, whoa, 5 games. Geez, who can I pick up at Brooklyn? Well, the only reason why I'm talking about Brooklyn is one, I got one of their favorite caps. I love it. And I do like a couple of the players on the team, but the Nets are the only team that will play 5 games during week 19 with 2 back-to-backs. Proven players like D'Angelo Russell, who I believe you had briefly
Yeah.
on your team. Cam Thomas, one of my favorite gunners, has not been playing predominantly well, but he's picked up everywhere, of course. And even Cam Johnson, I've got on 2 teams. He's been playing really well. And Nick Claxton, I picked up. I couldn't believe he was on the waiver wire and nobody picked him up. I was like, you guys are crazy? But he hasn't been having a great year, anyways. Will be limited to 3 appearances. And so keep those things into consideration. And going into the waiver wire, I just want to talk about you know, who I think is a really good opportunity to pick up and to stack your team. And right now, with the starting point guard of the Indiana Pacers
Yeah.
Halberton's dealing with yet another leg and core issue. Okay, I bring this up before, I'll bring it up again. The guy needs to get in a weight room and he needs to work on his core. He needs to work on his glutes, his hamstrings, his
I,
groin,
yeah.
and he has no ass. He has two thin legs. There are no calves on his legs. So when he has a calf contusion, it's an Achilles tendon issue because there's no calves. He has no thighs. So if it's a hammy, it's because he doesn't have hamstrings. He doesn't have muscles. He has
Right.
no core. So, anyways, in the meantime, and I believe you've picked him up on occasion. I stay away from him for the most part. Andrew Nemhart had a
I'm
pretty good game last night,
actually tempted
and
to do it today, but I'm hoping
yeah,
Halliburton
yeah,
plays.
I understand why. I stay away from him. I'll go for a Benedict Mathurin myself, who had a great game last night, and came off 4 games
Right.
missing. Aaron Neesmith, another guy I avoid like the plague. However, he has the occasional game. He had one great game and disappeared for 10.
That's true. Yeah,
And,
very
and
true.
he's a good defensive player, but I honestly, he's a defensive player that really can't shoot the rock.
Yeah.
A kid out of Brooklyn who I would seriously consider if you're thinking about playing Brooklyn's 5 games and has really come on of late, almost out of the league, is Zaire Williams. And he's really athletic and long and young, and someone to take into consideration. Another one is Keyshawn George, a shooting guard, small forward out of the Wizards. He's been playing pretty good, but I wouldn't pick up anybody on the Wizards really, because they're just horrible. If
We
not,
talking about them.
oh my god! And another guy at Brooklyn, if Claxton gets injured, God forbid, because I got him on 2 of my teams, is Dayron Sharp, the big center.
Right. Yep.
It's a calculated risk, but if he gets 20 to 25 minutes, he's going to give you 10 points, 9 boards, 3 assists, 2 stocks. He's worth a pickup if you've
Yep.
got 5 games in the week and you want a filler, a flyer,
Right.
someone that fills out an injury. I'd take a hard look at him. Cole Anthony, the whole backcourt situation, Orlando Magic, is a complete joke, and it has
Yep.
been the entire year. They need some work. Black is a good young kid. He's just not there.
Yep. Not there yet.
Their starting point guard, Suggs, is always injured. The guy is so injury prone. I just don't even bother. I never do it. But
Yep.
Cole Anthony had the last couple of games has played really well. He's getting the minutes. He's getting the usage, and he's very athletic, and he can lead a team, and they
Did
don't
you see
really
that?
have another choice.
Did you see that block he had on Giannis?
Wow.
That was
Wow.
awesome.
That was
That
very
was so,
impressive.
that was impressive.
And
So,
another one that had a couple of good blocks in his sneaky talent. I picked him up on a bunch of my teams. Is Malik Beasley has been playing great, and so have the Detroit Pistons. They've been
he's leading
really
the
a
league.
surprise.
Leading the league in 3 point percentage, I
That
believe.
not only percentage but also makes
Yeah,
close to it. But the coach loves him, and I have to give Bickerstaff the kudos that I didn't give at the beginning of the year.
probably hurts
And
you to say.
no, not at all. I was just so pissed off how he was playing with
Oh,
Dern or not
oh,
playing with Dern.
absolutely not. Yeah.
And Trent stuck with Dern, and that's why he's in second place and possibly fighting for a championship. I gave up on him because I thought Bickerstaff would never see the
Yeah.
light. However, I was
You and I were in the
very
same
wrong
boat.
there.
We were both
Um,
in the same boat with that guy for sure. We
yeah,
both were.
but Malik Beasley, he gets 30 plus minutes off the bench and is their 6 man. He is fighting for 6 man of the year. I think Pritchard's probably going to run away with it. Some people say Castle. I think Pritchard, what he did
Probably
last
front runner
week
for it. Yeah, it's
was
crazy.
quite remarkable. Him and White as their starting backcourt both have over 40 points. It was absolutely just a gong show. They were jacking threes all the. It
That's
was
all they did.
incredible. It was
It was awesome.
so fun. It
It was
was
sweet
so
seeing
fun.
it was sweet seeing him beat the Lakers on Saturday night too.
Well, I mean, I'm a Lakers fan, so and that's why I'll talk about Dalton Connect because now that they've got him and they're not going to trade him until the offseason, unfortunately, with LeBron James going down with another groin strain,
Right.
and it's inevitable with him the way he plays. It's incredible, but he's in such good shape that in the meantime, Dalton Connect, and this waiver wire is used to be called Connected until we
Yep.
called it Unconnected, waiver
Connect-
wired. Um,
Connected.
it would be nice to see him get some usage and volume. I think it's going to happen, especially with Luca. Luca did not look particularly
He's got
fantastic. He's
He had
got a
some.
back issue. He's got the calf issue. He's carrying
He
too
had
much
some
weight.
finals PTSD on that Saturday night game.
Yeah, and when you drink 24 500 mils of Pilsner
Uh,
on your night off, it really doesn't help.
Jalen Brown
And
was in his shorts a lot.
I'm not saying he does. I just everyone knows that he loves to drink beer and he does smoke when he drinks, which is really bizarre. I didn't think anybody did that in the 21st century. And to fill it off with,
Yeah,
I won't even mention Kelly Olynyk because he had a couple of good games and Trent hates him.
I
I
don't hate
just
him. You use the word hate. You throw the word hate around way too
Well, you
easily.
do because you always rip
No,
apart. When
I
we
don't.
do a pre-show, and Trent
I
really
did not rip him
dislikes.
apart.
He
What
thinks
the
Kelly
hell is this?
Olynyk does not
Not
belong in
true.
the NBA.
Not true. I said
You've
he's
said that.
retired. Yes,
So
he's
let me just finish the unconnected before you get all defensive.
correct.
The other one is a person I would never pick up. He's turning 39. Al Horford has
Right.
been playing actually
Uh,
quite
uh,
well because honestly, Kristaps Porzingis, I picked him up in our league because I had the first waiver wire. He's been sick for non-COVID for 6 games. Sorry, how do you get sick in non-COVID? You must have really bad flu or a really poor
right.
immune system,
I
dude.
laugh when you pick him up. I was just like, you watch, you won't even play. He doesn't
It's
play.
just my luck. My luck this year at fantasy has been very challenging. However, out of the 8 teams that I have, I'm in the playoffs in five and on the precipice of two other playoffs in the other two. So
Sure.
it doesn't
That's
matter what anybody says. At the end of
no.
the day, it's what happens at the end of the year and during the playoffs.
'Cause
So
when I saw him on the waiver wire, and I knew that you had the number one waiver still, I wasn't gonna. I thought about him. He's there. I'm going, But then I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, no, I just can't trust. I just couldn't trust him. I was
yeah, but
like,
they still have 22 games left. So I mean, just get healthy, eat some vitamin C, put on
yeah,
some weight,
if he's healthy
and
for the fantasy playoffs for you, you're gonna
and
be pretty tough.
stop being a lazy mofo and get off the bench and earn the money that they're giving you. They're giving you millions, you
So did
lazy
LeBron?
mofo.
Did, did LeBron James pull his hamstring when he faked that flop when Jason Tatum burned by him tonight?
No, it was towards the end of the game when he did this up and
Uh,
under.
right.
He did like four moves in one, and then he tweaked it right after he
And
made.
they were losing, so it's a good way to get out of the gym before
Well,
the.
that's because you're Trent also has a bit of a disdain for the king as well.
I
Anyways,
think
that's my
you're right.
waiver wire unconnected before Trent starts getting demonstrative and defensive. Trent,
Who's
let's
being
let's
defensive?
go into what
Right.
everybody's talking about. We've talked about many times. We both have different opinions on this. We're talking about the NBA still, and we will talk about the Eastern and Western Conference. We're talking about the MVP race with 22 games left. It's becoming quite clear who the top 3, 4 players potentially could be. Trent has one opinion. I have another. Trent, who do you think is going to win the MVP this year?
Well, I think it's between right now it's between Shea and Alexander and Jokic. What happens is I think it happened to LeBron James years ago. I think there's voter fatigue. It happened to Michael Jordan in the 80s. I think when you win a bunch, I don't think Derrick Rose should have been the MVP over LeBron James back in the day.
No.
That was voter fatigue. I think they looked at it going, only a couple of guys have ever won three in a row, and that's a elite class. We don't want to put him in that right now. I
Yeah.
don't know what
Yeah.
it was. It's writers. It's a joke what some writers and other people how they vote on things because maybe the guy said something bad about you, so you're not going to vote for him. Who knows how that dynamic? We're all people. That I get
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
but I don't think Derrick Rose should have won that MVP. And I
No.
love Derrick
No.
Rose; he's a fun player to watch.
Yeah.
The same goes for Jokic. I think they gave it. We talked about this last year. I actually think Shea should have won it last year,
Well.
but they gave it
Well.
to Embiid because they didn't want to give three in a row to Jokic. Right? It's like, hey, we can't.
Well.
We got to mix it up, right? Kind of thing. That's an elite thing to give having a guy win the MVP 3 times in a row.
Yeah, it is. And
I mean,
and so Trent's talking about probably the best Canadian player in the world,
oh no, he's one of the best
and
players in the world.
and he could be the best point guard in the NBA right
Yeah,
now.
I think he is. I
And
think
and I don't disagree with Trent at all. I just think voter fatigue. I f
Jokic's numbers
off.
are crazy. I
I
know his numbers.
honestly voter. I
I'm
when
with
I hear that, I just like fuck.
sucks. I hate it. Yeah.
Just f
Yep.
off. Like
Yep.
that is such bullshit.
Yep. I
And
agree.
and it pisses me off. And and I'm
I agree.
tired of it. At the end of the day, the numbers don't lie, the
No, I
stats
do.
don't lie, and the position of the team that you're talking about
Yep.
is doesn't lie. And so there's really, in my opinion, there's really two players. You could argue that Donovan Mitchell, perhaps a third in Cleveland, or one of the bigs, maybe. I
You
don't
not
know.
think you not think Cleveland though, Cleveland's having a great year.
Yeah,
But that team, when you look at Cleveland, you don't even like you just brought up Donovan Mitchell because we know him, but they're a collective. They don't have like he's not just the standout guy because Garland
team.
takes over, right?
Cleveland is a
They are.
true
They are a
team.
team, bench wise, everything. So that's I
So is
think
it
that really
OKC?
yeah, but he stands out, right? You have a
Yeah,
player
yeah.
that really stands out every game. Donovan Mitchell doesn't stand out every game because
Well, you
Garland takes over.
look at his stats, and I'd
Hey,
have to
had
argue
a great
argue it.
year, but that's where I was going with Cleveland. I don't think he wins because of the team that they have and how that they play that way, right?
Right.
I think Shea is on what's Shea on 30 games in a row now with 20 plus points. That's
Oh,
like pushing into like
well,
otherworldly.
he scored over
It's so
54 or 5 times already, and he's just incredible. Like,
But I mean, Jokic, again, if Jokic was to win, nobody could complain. The guy's numbers are, I mean, he had a 30-20-20 game the other night. Like, who's doing that?
historic,
Like,
historic.
ridiculous, right?
And on the same night, by the way, I've got to mention another record as well.
Yeah,
Kessler, or not Kessler, uh,
yeah,
the start Kessler, the starting
yeah,
center of the horrible Utah Jazz, just went nuts with
yeah. He
18 points, 28 rebounds, and 8 blocks.
blocks. Like,
My God,
I'm
like,
amazed. I
dude.
mean, I'm
And then
amazed.
they sit him for 4 games because of rest.
He's on your team too, isn't he, in our league, right?
I've got him. I've got him on 3 teams.
I knew that too. That's what yeah, when he had that big game,
Never
I was
again. Never. I should have listened to Josh Lloyd at Locked In Sports
like,
Fantasy Basketball. He's the best in the world, and he
yep,
said, "I do not draft Markkinen. I do not draft any guards, anyone on of because you know
yeah,
what Ainge is going to do. He's
yeah,
playing the percentage game, and then under the auspices of we were just talking about earlier. Oh, let's have the youth movement.
yeah.
Let's have let's get the first and second round draft picks and give them 30 minutes a game
Right,
and sit everybody. John
yeah,
Collins was
yep.
playing out of his mind,
He
and
was.
and then they rested him. He's out for 6 games with a back injury. Like
Right.
it should be illegal. You should
Just made
fine the organization for this.
yeah.
This is not what we pay for. I don't
No,
pay for my NBA subscription to watch all of these guys who I know are healthy being
sit.
sitting on the bench because they want to play the percentages of the Cooper sweepstakes or whoever might be number one.
So other than Jokic and Shea, who would be the third that you think of? Tatum?
I would say Tatum. I'd give the edge. I'd say Tatum for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, I think Boston's right there, right? I mean,
yeah,
the thing is, Cleveland's had such a good year.
yeah,
If you were to give the MVP, that's where it hurts Tatum because they're like 9 games behind Cleveland, Boston.
yeah,
Be
yeah.
tough to give that guy the. But right now, I just think it is between those two, and I'm with you. That's why I brought it up because I knew it would get you fired up. The voter fatigue thing, it drives me nuts. It's ridiculous. It's not a reason to not vote for a guy because,
No,
hey,
it's
Larry Bird did that. We're going to put him in
Trent.
that.
It's unacceptable. It's like
Yeah.
not referees not calling traveling is unacceptable. Continuation disappearing from the game is unacceptable.
Well, you know what? You know what's funny? You bring continuation up. So this weekend, watching the junior high boys for their spa finals, I had an old ref who's retired standing by me, and his grandson's playing for the team I used to coach.
Okay.
Well, one of the kids made a move. He kind of got bumped, and he took a step and he put it up, and the ref and it didn't go in, but the ref's like on the ground, and we both. He said something to me. I go, you know what, Don? I go, there's no such thing as continuation anymore. I said, you guys used to live for that bump, and then get that,
Me,
that's
I
no,
used
but
to live for that. I'd get 10 to 12 foul shots a game off
it's crazy.
continuation.
It's crazy, right? Yeah, but you're going to get those foul shots anyways. But now you're not getting and ones because they're not giving you that
But that's
continuation.
my point.
It's
That's my
crazy.
point. Those are 10 or 12 points that add to your score. And and
Traveling,
and, and you think, a score. Oh, how many shots did you take? Well, I took 14 shots.
yeah,
And what? You took 14 shots and scored 38 points? How? Well, because I hit 4 threes and I hit 12
I
foul
like
shots.
exactly. No, it's that's gone. And the traveling, no, let's not even get started on that. That's just
I know. It's just it.
drives me. I'm with you on that, bud. You and I are always on the same page with that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, it's just insanity. But you know what? I still love the game. I still love hoops. I love the NBA.
For
March
a while.
Madness is upon us. I'm excited about female basketball. I'm excited about all basketball. I'm a hoop junkie, true and true, and I always will be. But you know, at the end of the day, the MVP I just wanted to chat with. Trent's going to go with the best Canadian player in the
I'm
world.
rooting for him. I'm rooting for him. Not that
Yeah,
I'm
me
going
too. Me
for him.
too.
I'm
I
rooting
don't
for him.
care. I
Yeah,
if he gets it, great. But
yeah,
honestly, if you look at the
love
stats
it.
and where
That's great.
Denver is right now,
Yeah, it's
is it's
crazy.
obvious.
He's
It's there isn't anybody, and it's
the
just
season.
so difficult. Poor SGA having to play against a guy like, it's like all these
Yeah,
players that had to play against Jordan for all those years when they
yeah.
won 6 championships in a
Thing is,
row.
people are winning. Even I mean, it's not quite like that because there's lots of guys that played when Jordan played that never got to the finals. Some
Yeah,
of
that's
these
true.
other teams are getting there at least, right?
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah, that's
hoping.
true.
I mean, OKC in the final, OKC Celtics final would
Yeah,
be ridiculous.
yeah, it'd be exciting.
Uh, it would be up and down.
If
Um,
Kristaps Porzingis can get over
yeah,
his sickness.
yeah, exactly.
And but by the way, it drives me nuts when they don't say, "Oh, he has non-COVID sickness." Well, what did they call it before COVID? Is it the flu? Is he just hungover? Has he disappeared?
Yeah,
Has he not come
exactly.
out of his apartment for 6 days? I don't see him on the bench.
And you know
Are
that.
they?
Yeah,
He's on the bench in the last couple of games, but obviously they don't want to get everybody else sick if
no,
it is
I'm with you.
contagious.
So,
But if
but
it's
I
not
think it's,
COVID, it's not contagious, or it could
yeah.
be severe flu. Anyways,
I
enough
think
of
it's a
that.
big upset. If it's not Shea or Jokic, it would be a pretty big upset that somebody else wins it. To be completely
Jason
honest,
Tatum. The only way I could say Jason Tatum doing it is they made up those 8-9 games that they're behind, and went on a real nasty run.
right?
And he just went, and he's ballistic. Like, he's lost weight. He looks the best he's ever looked.
Yep,
He wants to be the 21st century version of Kobe,
yep,
and
yep,
he's well on his way. He's an incredible talent. He's very consistent, prolific, and
yep.
he's just a stand-up guy. He looks like a great teammate, and
Seems
you
like a
see
good
when he hangs out with his kid, and his kid's, what is his kid's name? Deuce
juice.
or
Yeah,
Cruz or something, and he's
juice.
so cute. But anyways, we're gonna get into. Do you want to do?
No, do East and West, and then
Yeah, do the East and West trend. I'm going to finish up with the introduction to the CEBL. A lot of people don't know the Canadian Elite Basketball League, and I just want to do a little blurb on the Canadian Basketball League and how important it is for Canada to have a basketball league. Canada
let's
invented not
go
only
for it.
hockey,
Let's just do it right.
lacrosse, and Canadian football, but they invented basketball.
Yep.
So, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, go for it.
CEBL right
Yeah,
now?
go for it. We're talking about it. Let's go for it.
Okay. So what it, you know, I could go into the Canadian Elite Basketball League. It is a basketball league that has been going on for the better part of about 10 years now, with only Canadian teams and only, not necessarily only Canadian players. There are rules. So the best way to explain this with 10 teams is frequently asked questions. I find this just the easiest way to explain it to everyone. So the first question that I would ask anyone that doesn't know what the CBA is what is the Canadian Elite Basketball League, the CEBL? And so the acronym is the CBL, but it is the Canadian Elite, the only professional basketball league. So the Canadian Elite Basketball League is Canada's largest professional sports league, and largest. I could come up with different adjectives, but whatever. It is, and the only professional basketball league in North America affiliated with the Federation of International Basketball Association. A lot of people don't know that. So they do use FIBA rules, but they've created their own rules within FIBA as they can, because it's Canada, and Canada as a nation is on a national scene is part of FIBA, the Federation of International Basketball Association. It's the largest governing body of basketball in the world. Nobody knows that, or nobody talks about it very much, but because everybody talks about the NBA. The league created by Canadians for Canadians, and this is a Canadian show. This is the Canadian Bro Show with all basketball from the Hoop Junkies, Pauly and Rolly. With a mission to develop Canadian players, long time coming, coaches, sports executives, and referees. The CEBL boasts the highest percentage of Canadian players of any pro league in the country. Of course, this is the only country that Canada's in, but I think they're talking about North America. the Western Hemisphere. The CEBL boasts the highest percentage of Canadians in any, with 75% of its roster being Canadian, and a record 12 players with NBA experience that are in and out of the league or going through Europe and FIBA and trying to get back into the league. Maybe
Right.
got injured and got cut in Europe, and or the same in the NBA, and they take advantage of the scheduling, which I'll get into. This basically players also bring experience from the NBA G League, which has really grown and expanding, and there's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of talent everywhere in the world. Basketball is the fastest growing team sport in the world, in my opinion. A top international and pro leagues. The Canadian national team program, the NCAA program, as well as the U Sports and CCAA, which are the Canadian equivalent of the NCAA programs. More than 20 players have signed NBA contracts following a CEBL season, which is pretty impressive. And numerous CEBL players attended NBA G League training camps every year. So it is growing, and it's the reason why I waited quite some time for this is because I was just kind of waiting for it to sort of hit a point where it becomes relevant news, and just explain to people that I love basketball, as it is part of all basketball from the Hoop Junkies, Pauly and Raleigh, exactly what it means to Canadian basketball and basketball in general throughout the world. The interesting thing with the CEBL, when I played professional, we played at a certain time of the year, usually sort of August to, you know, April, March, depending on how good your professional team was and how far you go in the playoffs. The CEBL chose to start its season starting at May through August, with games broadcasted live on CEBL, powered by Bet Victor, which is the Canadian FanDuel, if you will, TSN, TSN Plus, RDS, Game Plus, Next Level Sports and Entertainment, and Courtside 1891. Also on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, all the usuals. When was the CEBL established? The inaugural season was 2019, but the league was officially established October 25th, 2017, when the concept was registered as a national league running during the spring and summer months with FIBA rules, which benefits FIBA, benefits the NBA, benefits the G League, benefits the CEBL. It's fantastic. It's a great stopgap. Fills in those months and allows players that have injuries or on the fringe of many leagues an opportunity to showcase their skills. And of course, it's a Canadian league, which is great. And On May 2nd in 2018, the original six teams were announced: the Edmonton Stingers, Trent's favorite team from Alberta, the
Couple
Fraser
championships.
Valley. What's that?
They've got a couple championships since they've been in
They
the league.
sure did. They sure did. A lot of people don't know that. Fraser Valley Bandits, the Guelph Nighthawks, the Hamilton Honey Badgers. Never liked that name. The oh my God, we're playing the Honey Badgers. Whew,
Mm,
I'm
yeah.
scared. Like seriously, but whatever. And the Niagara River Lions, Saskatchewan Rattlers, 20-game regular season and schedule that started in 2019. And so, how many teams are currently in the CEBL? The CEBL, now sort of 8 years in, has 10 teams in numerous major sports markets across Canada. There are 5 teams in the Eastern Conference: the Brampton Honey Badgers, the Montreal Alliance, the Niagara River Lions, the Ottawa Blackjacks, and the Scarborough Shooting Stars. I like that. And the 5 teams in the Western, so it's nice and equal right across Canada. The excuse me, the Calgary Surge, Trent's new favorite team,
I know.
because he got tired of the Edmonton Stingers. And by the way, I don't think Trent likes any team
No,
professionally from Edmonton.
never.
There we go. And the Saskatchewan Rattlers, the Vancouver Bandits, which I believe has just been sold to a professional businessman in Vancouver. And finally, with the Winnipeg Sea Bears. And What's really interesting is that the league is really starting to come into its own, and it's getting lots of credibility, and a lot of players are utilizing it. And a lot of Canadian players, a lot of guys I know, coming through the CBL and there, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. How many games are played in the CEBL season, and when are they played? In 2025, the CEBL will expand the regular season from 20 games to 24 game format, starting approximately 1 week earlier in early May and ending 2 weeks later to make up those 4 games later in late August. Each team will play a 24 game regular season scheduled and up to 4 playoff games, a single game knockout, preceded by an 8-day training camp period. The 2025 championship weekend is scheduled for late August at Canada Life Centre in Winnipeg, home of the Winnipeg Sea Bears. And so it's exciting. It's happening. It's pretty good. That the league is decent. The talent's pretty good. I recognize a lot of players locally from Canada, guys I know, and then guys from Europe, and like I mentioned earlier, guys from the NBA that are maybe out of the NBA and trying to get back out on the fringe. Only 450 roster spots in the NBA, so there is opportunity out there for everyone. Never give up the dream, basketball hoop junkies. Never
For
give
sure.
the dream up. And what is the playoff format? Well, I've already talked about that, but at the conclusion of the 120 game schedule with the 10 teams, 4 top ranked teams each conference qualify for the playoffs. The championship weekend host club with the first place team in the opposing conference gets an automatic bye, like we were talking about a fantasy, for the conference finals at championship weekend. The fifth ranked team in each conference is eliminated from playoff contention unless the host club places fifth, in which case the fourth ranked team in that conference is eliminated. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Um, the plan, the first round of the CEB playoffs plays in games between the third and fourth seeded teams in each conference. After the host team has been advanced to the via bye to the championship weekend, winners of the play-in games advance to the conference semifinals. Conference semifinal: the second seeded teams in each conference host the winners of the game in games or the play-in games. Winners of the conference semifinals advance to the conference finals at championship weekend. Championship weekend conference final. The host club and the first place team in the opposing conference play the winners of the conference semifinals. Winners of the conference finals advance to the CEBL championship game. And then in the final, the one game, as it's just knockout, a winner or loser, CEBL championship final takes place between the two conference final winners, with the highest remaining seed becoming the home team. Winner is crowned CEBL championship. It's pretty exciting stuff. And I'll finish that up with the expansion, because it's growing, and obviously the opportunity for businessmen and people that love basketball and hoop junkies like us that are involved at a high level have an opportunity to be a part of something very special, and that's happening here locally in British Columbia. For my second hometown of Kelowna, I live in Vancouver and Kelowna, and I'm in Vancouver right now, and I'm glad to be here. Hence the different backdrop. This is my 28 square foot office in my condo downtown Vancouver, and it's a little bit of hoops and a little bit of real estate, as that's what I am. And the interesting thing is, one of my friends and Canadian legend and UBC legend, Doug Plum, has hooked up with the University of British Columbia Okanagan Heat team, which is part of iSport in the Canadian Conference Association of Basketball, with their head coach Clayton Pottinger as an associate, not on the bench coach, because anybody can use the skill set of a talented coach and player of the level of Doug Plum. Doug Plum, for those that don't know him, played in the CEBL and also coached and won 3 consecutive championships as a coach with the London Lightning. And so instant credibility with his past performance record, played in Europe, played in Hungary, played with UBC, one of the top UBC players of all time, and now is spearheading, with the help of Clayton Pottinger, from my understanding, a new franchise expansion in the CEBL with the Kelowna, a team in Kelowna, and that's going to be this May. So, I mean, we're talking a couple of months if you can put it together. I've reached out to Doug. We're going to try to get him on the show for an interview. He's a busy man, but I'm pretty sure he'll be interested in talking with Trent and I about the expansion. It's very exciting. They're going to be playing out of the Prospera Arena, which is in the Cultural District downtown, right down by the water of Kelowna. You get about 6,500 basketball people in there with the court, and it's very exciting. And I hope nothing but the best. And I'm trying to help them with anyone I know via my real estate business that is interested in being a part of a franchise in Kelowna and would like to be a part of a partner, which means you got to dosh up. And that's always the biggest challenge. But when you're a part of the fastest growing team sport in the world and a Canadian sport, it should be easier than said than done. I wish Doug and Clayton and everybody the best with the new franchise, and hopefully it comes in the CEBL this
Well,
season. Thanks, Trent.
that was good. That was perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So, just to finish the show off, Trent, did you want to go back to the NBA and talk about the
Yeah,
Eastern and Western Conference with 22 games left? A lot of fluidity right now.
we're at an hour, so I'll just try to make it a little. We'll be a little quicker,
Sure,
but
sure.
obviously Cleveland's their game up on a game ahead of Oklahoma City for the number one, like just the number one record overall.
Yeah.
Uh, 10 in a row again. And they won like 15 earlier. They won like 11 again. Like
I
they've
think
just
it's
been.
12 in a row now, I believe.
Oh, sorry. Win streak is 14. 10 and
14.
0.
There we go.
So, but that's like they had 15 earlier. They had 11 earlier. Like they've just had a
Multiple
massive.
times. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and again, just a really good team, really good bench. I mean, it's just a really well all around good coach team, well coached team. Play two bigs. If they're healthy, again, as a friend of mine said, I have a hard time trusting them because they've never seemed to be able to get over the hump with the group they have right now.
Yeah.
So this is their year. They're going to put, if they lose in the second round this year again, it's going to be a question mark again. Why aren't you in the Eastern Conference? Like there's always that hump for every team to get over. So that's
Yeah.
definitely a challenge for them.
Yeah.
Celtics. I mean, we're not surprised. Celtics are next.
Next, but they're still 8 games back, as we were mentioning.
They're like 40 and 18.
Yeah.
46 and 18, and they're 8 games back. Like they're
I
having
know.
a
It's
really
crazy.
good season, right?
Yeah.
And it was great seeing them beat the Lakers in La Flop on Saturday night. That was really fun to watch.
It's
So,
it's always a good game to see the Boston, the two greatest franchises in the history of the NBA.
well, the league rigged that for them, but whatever. It's always great to watch. The Lakers and Celtics are
Are,
always
are
going to
you
be
allowed to say that, or are you saying that's coming from your personal knowledge?
still the Lakers and Celtics. It always is going to be the Lakers and Celtics. It doesn't matter what era. It's Lakers and Celtics. It's like the ultimate rivalry in basketball, honestly.
Unless the Knicks, who are in third place, can do something.
Unless they, well, yeah. I mean, the Knicks again, they're playing decent. I don't know if Brunson's out here. They're on this report right now. I think he might be out. He twisted his ankle.
Yeah, he blew his ankle out pretty bad apparently, but
it went over right on
yeah,
its side.
I can't watch ankle turns. But I tell you what, that guy is tough as nails.
Yeah, man. New York's. I mean,
No,
again,
but I mean Brunson is
yeah, for
tough
sure.
as
I
nails.
agree. He's going to miss some time though. He's going to miss a few games.
Don't say that. I got him on 3 of my teams.
Well, he's missing a few games. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, I know.
Unfortunately, which sucks because again, as a basketball fan, when I talk about the playoffs, I want every team to be healthy in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That was in Cleveland. Unfortunately, last year when Cleveland played the Knicks, I mean Donovan Mitchell missed half those games because he was injured with a hammy or something.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. But the Knicks, the problem with the Knicks is that Brunson and Coach Tibbs, their coach, plays everybody 40 minutes. and so you get a guy that's playing 42 minutes a game, who is the leading, probably one of the top 5 best point guards in the world right now, and has an ankle injury with 22 games left. He could miss 7 games.
Yeah.
And so they don't have anybody on the bench that can play the point like Brunson. So who do they play? Deuce McBride?
Yeah, I think you've been playing a bunch of minutes. I thought about picking him up, but I just got lots of guards, so I just
Yeah. I mean,
um,
anyway, so I mean they're going to be okay. They're 40 and 23. They're
they're
13
gonna
and a half games behind.
hosting playoff games. They'll be fine as long as
And
they
then
keep
you got who do you got next, Trey? We got the
We got
Milwaukee
the-
Bucks
we got the
playing
Bucks.
really well.
Yeah, and then you got the Pacers who have played a lot better. Again, they started out so crappy this year. They've
Yeah.
actually put it together pretty good here this last while.
Yeah.
Um, and then you have, I mean, then the other surprise, probably the biggest surprise is the Pistons. The Pistons in sixth spot in the East at 36 and 29.
Yeah.
I mean, got some really good young players. I can't even imagine what their record. I think they're even better if Ivy doesn't get hurt. He was coming into his own as a professional player.
I think they're better because he got hurt, to be honest. I think
I
the
don't know.
opposite.
I think he's a good
Because
player. I like
Cade
him.
Cunningham is not been injured and he's been
Yeah,
healthy,
he's going to be the
and
guy.
he is far better than I thought he was.
Oh no, he's a great player. He was a great player in
My
college too.
God, is he? I know.
I,
You keep on saying that, but I never watched him in college.
oh, he was
But
he's a good player, man. There's no
what
question.
he's doing in the NBA is extraordinary, and he's in the top
And
five
injury
point
free,
guards.
like, at the same time, right? Which has been great for him.
But
But Detroit,
Bickerstaff's really found a good rotation, and he
yep,
leans on seven guys, eight
get your
basically.
boy Beef
Tobias
Stew.
Harris is the unsung hero. Duran is a superstar in the making, a potential 2020 guy.
Yep,
And then you got the shooter who we taught Beasley, who's been playing his best season.
yep.
And they've got depth, and they've got good wings, they've got a good second unit, and they play good D, and I have to admit they're well coached and they're a surprise.
You got your boy Beef Stew comes off the bench. I know that's your guy. So
I hate Beef Stew. He's a total goon.
you don't hate him because you don't know him.
No,
So
he's a goon. No, I just don't like him as a player. He's a goon. No,
the
he's
biggest
just
surprise would be them, though, Paul. I'm with you. Like them being in sixth place in the East.
yeah.
Neither you or I picked them to be in the top in the playoffs in the East.
Well,
Like,
we've said that the last couple of weeks, eh?
and so they're. I mean, I love it. I like seeing new teams in there, and they're young,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
even better, right?
yeah.
Um, and then you got Atlanta. Again, hit or miss with all the injuries they had. It's
The trade has helped them.
yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
Karis LeVert has really fit into the Hunter role.
Yep.
And Trey is just continuing his thing. They're just their depth on the bench is very limited.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
they're exciting to watch, and I
Yeah.
love Trey Young. So
They're fun to watch.
yeah,
Orlando, them and Orlando are the same, 30 wins.
yeah,
Orlando kind of,
they're sliding fast.
you know what? Orlando hasn't been able to recover from all, like, they did really well when Banchero first got hurt. We were
Yeah,
both surprised that they kind of maintained winning. They were
yeah.
still like a 600 team. And then all of a sudden he came back. But then just before he came back, Wagner was down. Then all of a sudden Suggs is down. Another guard is down. They
Both Wagners were down.
really stalled. The injuries really stalled Orlando, and I don't think they've really gotten themselves out of that
And
rut.
and and also their lack of depth in the backcourt. They
Yeah,
just have a really their guards are not very
yeah.
good.
No, no. It's unfortunate because they were having a good season before the injuries. Really,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
play really good team basketball.
They were the Detroit Pistons,
Yeah, yeah.
and they've dropped, and the Pistons have moved right into their
Gogo is
position.
a non-factor now. Gogo
Yeah,
is out of the rotation.
yeah. It's just weird, eh?
I was going to pick him up just for some games this week, and I was just like, I looked at his minutes, and it's like he's getting two, one and one and one and one because he's playing like 8 minutes. And that guy was he was like the fantasy darling for a few weeks. You were on here yelling, "Go go!" Like that guy was,
Go
he-
helped me go from dead last
yeah,
to
he was putting
third.
up he was averaging double doubles every
You
night
know,
with
and
three
Philly,
points.
it's interesting the
Oh,
Philly situation. They're just decimated, but you got to look at a couple of guys like Grimes, who's been
yeah,
playing really, really
yeah.
well,
Good job,
and
Dallas.
and yeah, I mean, well, a lot of teams gave up on him,
I know, but I'm
um,
just yeah, it's
and but also like they just you just don't know what you're gonna get with them. Maxi's injured again, and Kelly Oubre just blew his ankle out last night.
you think put it for Philadelphia. So you got Orlando at 30, then you got Miami and Chicago at 29. Do you think Philadelphia can make those 4 games up to catch Chicago before the end of the year to get to the playoffs? I don't know. It's going to be
Uh,
tough
I don't
because
know. You look at the last five teams, and they're all just really sad. Like
my
the Wizards are the worst, probably the worst team in the league. Hornets,
yeah,
terrible.
Raptors,
What a terribly run
Raptors are
franchise.
only 5 games out, but they're not getting there either. And
No,
neither is
no. And honestly, I watch the Raptors, and watching them is like, who is? There's 8 players in that team. I have no idea who they are.
yeah, they play. You know what? They tried. If anybody watched this game against Orlando about 2 weeks ago, a week ago, they they were. It was a 2-point game for Toronto. They sat Scotty Barnes and Quickly and Barrett, and they had bench players. They were trying to lose. They were trying to lose that game. And the dude that I've never heard of, and I can't even, I'm not even going to look up who it was, hits a three at the with zero point 0.5
What
seconds
his
left.
name's Jacoby Walter.
Whatever. They hit a three and they win that game. They
Yeah,
were. And what pisses me off is they, as a fan, I'm watching that game. You actively tried to lose that game. You
yeah.
really did. Like,
It's
oh my,
embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
everybody was on the bench.
Let's move on. Let's talk instead of talking about these crap
I don't
teams.
think again. I think the East is set. I don't think.
Yeah,
I think with those bottom four, Atlanta, Orlando, Miami, Chicago. I don't think Philadelphia, Brooklyn, Toronto, Charlotte, or Washington are catching Chicago.
I
It's
hope they don't because I don't want to watch them.
I don't want to see them in a playing game even. Yeah, I'm with you. So I think the East is. I would be
Yeah.
surprised if
Let's move on to the West, Trent.
and okay, well, West, of course, OKC, 7 in a row, the
53-11.
pumped the Nuggets yesterday, like just pumped them.
Yeah,
Um, and I guess I shouldn't say that. The game was close with about
it
5 minutes,
was.
and all of a sudden Oklahoma City just went on a three barrage with Jalen
Yeah,
Williams, everybody else.
yeah.
Um, so they're out front by 12 games. Nobody's catching them. And then you
No,
get
I
the
mean,
late,
just look at talk about just one sec, Trent. At home, they're 28-4,
yeah,
and on the road, they're 24-7.
24-7 on the road.
And they're
I know.
9-1. So they keep on going on these streaks, and they got Holmgren back. They got all their bigs. They got health, and they got
Yep.
SGA, the best Canadian, the
Yep.
best point guard in the world.
And hey, another shout out, Lucas Dort has been playing pretty good basketball for them as well.
You know,
Like,
I'll talk about the
uh,
Lakers anytime. They're 8-2
yeah,
since Luka. Well, actually, not since Luka. I mean, he's played 12 games, but they are now in second place
yep,
in the
yep.
West, and exactly where I honestly the trades that they did and how everything's come in. It's hopefully LeBron's groin injury is not too severe, and Luca's back injury. Luca, just go on a cleanse. Don't drink any pilsners for a couple of months. Wait till
But
the
see,
league season's finished.
there's a team like they're again good home record, 500 on the road. So when the playoffs come,
Yeah,
I'm. I mean, hey, they've made a great run since that trade for
yeah,
Luca.
yeah.
They're tied with the Nug. I mean, they're percentage points ahead of the Nuggets, and they're both 12 games behind Oklahoma City. Memphis, they're right there. Another surprise team that maintained it was the Rockets for us.
Yeah.
They're still there with 39 wins. They're not far off. Yeah, I
You
seen
see,
that.
you see my old Elijah one?
Well, Elijah one back there. I like it.
Yeah,
Yep.
man.
Um, and then you got Golden State. That again, another team that has done very well since they made that trade for Jimmy
Yeah,
Butler. And they
yeah.
got Kuminga coming back.
Much
Uh,
better than I thought. They're 9-1, by the way.
they've been going crazy. They're 9-1
I, and playing really well. Brandon Brzezinski just injured himself. He's got his
oh,
back. It's just totally out.
oh.
But they're talking about Kaminga's coming back. He's been out with an ankle injury since January 4th. I
I
mean,
jumped.
how look honestly, like what these guys just play. Come on,
I
man. How bad is your ankle? You need surgery? Then pack it in.
Um, I mean, go. I mean, and then you got those again. I think it's a little closer in the West when we say that the East might
Yeah,
be decided. I mean, you
yeah,
got Minnesota, the Clippers. The Kings just blew that game against the Clippers last night.
yeah.
Um, and
And
Dallas, and
Vacilonis has stepped in admirably for Sabonis, but they miss him.
they miss him. Yeah, he's such a good player.
Yeah,
I Phoenix, Dallas, I think is slowly going to be out of the play-in. I think Phoenix probably gets there. So
Dallas is in trouble, bro.
Dallas is in trouble, man, big time
Yeah.
with Irving not on. Davis, they're saying him and
PJ
Live.
Washington is he blows out one ankle and then he blows out the other. It's like, dude, we need you.
I think Phoenix
Get some
catches
ankle
them,
braces.
and if Phoenix doesn't catch them, well, holy moly, man! You have Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and you're not making the playoffs. That's
Yeah, they're
everybody. That's everybody
Trent,
getting traded,
we
except for
know
Booker,
what's gonna happen.
everybody
Yeah,
getting fired.
we've talked
So
about this numerous times. They're blowing it up. The
it's
question is, who's gonna get the Kevin Durant sweepstakes? Right? Where's he going?
I wouldn't call them sweepstakes anymore, but that's fun.
Oh,
I mean,
people love him, and at 36, he's one of the
sure,
greatest scorers in the history of the game.
he still can score the basketball.
Oh, look at
That
his
guy's
stats. Look at his stats this year. It's
a
like
bucket getter. There's no question about that. That
it's
guy can get a bucket.
crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
And you know what? The Suns suck, and the Portland Trailblazers have been a real surprise in
I'll
the
bring them up.
second
Yep,
half. They
yep.
played really well, and but they're not going anywhere.
Oh,
They're just San
pretty.
Antonio Spurs, same thing, small ball.
I'm
Uh, the
losing.
Pelicans,
Was
brutal.
losing Wembyama was. I actually was. We were talking before Wembyama went out. We were talking about the Spurs maybe sneaking into that play-in. Like they were playing
Yeah,
pretty well. They were only a game behind at that
yeah,
time, and then
yeah,
he got hurt. I mean, that's. I mean, that guy's a freak. So you just lost like a top 10 player in the league,
yeah.
and probably would have been the defensive player of the year, in my opinion.
You know, I think San Antonio really screwed up on trading Collins. And look at what Collins done. I know
Yep.
Vooch is coming back, but
Yep.
Collins has played out of his head, and he is a very decent backup 7-footer,
Yep.
and could have really helped them out. I mean, he's playing fantastic with
The
Chicago.
problem was he's always been hurt too.
I
There's
know
another
another guy that's always
guy
injured.
always injured, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
with you when he plays. He's a really good role player, really good backup 4 or 5 type player.
Hey, he
But he's
hits threes, he rebounds, he plays good D, he
a
drops
little,
dimes.
a little dirty. It's like
Yeah. Oh, he's a lot
every couple,
dirty. He's a
yeah.
lot
So
dirty.
and then obviously your two favorite teams, New Orleans and
I hate them
Utah.
both. I hate them both. It's just honestly what the Jazz are doing is despicable. When they do, the NBA should just eliminate teams from the NBA and put them into the G League,
Yeah.
and do what the British Premier Soccer League does and drop them
Move,
into a division.
how about just move one to Seattle and then in a couple years move the other one to Vegas.
Well, it's
Move them.
easier said than done. You know why that can't be done?
I know.
Because even the shitty teams like Utah and New
Yep.
Orleans
I know.
and Washington, they're
Money.
worth $3-4 billion.
I know, tons of dough. But we can leave it at that. That's I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
I think the West, there could be some changes in the bottom of that plan, but I think the East, I think the teams that are there right now are probably the teams in the playoffs. I'd be
awesome.
surprised because, like you said, with the Sixers and the injuries, I just it's a hard road, man. It's to
Yeah,
try to climb, and
yeah,
it's not like the Bulls aren't playing terrible. They're going to win
yeah,
some games. So
yeah.
yeah, I think the East is set, and I think the West. I think Dallas probably falls out of that 10, and probably Phoenix getting into the
Yeah,
8. So
absolutely, absolutely. Well, listen, that was fun, Trent. Thank you. I'm glad you've recovered from yesterday's festivities. Trent was in. You know, that's what happens when you get older. Your recuperation time from the
thank you.
festivities of an entire day of watching 24 hours of hoops will catch
Yeah,
up with you.
yeah, it does.
And I talked to him on the phone. I thought I was talking to somebody that died.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but anyways, a great show. Thanks everybody for watching. My name is Paul Bale. I'm the founder and host of the Canadian Bro Show. I'm here with my good friend of over 40 years, Trent Rowley, the co-host with the most. If you don't know what that means, just ask him. He'd be happy to share that with you. Anyone that listens, he'd be happy to share. This is the second iteration of 3 with the Canadian Bro Show at the Canadian Bro Show. If you watch the ticker, all the information's there. First iteration, we just did a fantastic 33rd episode yesterday with an old friend of mine, Dr. PhD Dr. Stuart Schulman, who I used to play basketball with 40 plus years ago in the late 70s. And he put on a show with Johnny and I about what's going on the south of us and all of the things that are going on, fascinating stuff, and a very intelligent chap, and really one of the best interviews we've done on this show, and hopefully more to come. In the meantime, we really thank you. Last episode that Trent and I did, where we've got 65 views. I mean, that might not seem much for a lot of people, especially a lot of people. I'm looking at all the shows I like to watch, and everyone's got. But
Yeah,
for
whatever.
us, yeah, for us, it's a tremendous growth. It's a step in the right direction, and people are really catching on to what we're providing. And so, thank you kindly. Lots of really nice comments, and I think we're at 45 or 46 subscribers. So we're trying to get to 500. So you'll notice when the show's live later on in a couple hours, at the very bottom right hand corner below Trent, there is a little subscribe button. If you just run your mouse over it and hit subscribe and you hit like and drop a comment if you want to make a comment, we would really appreciate it. In the meantime, Trent, thank you kindly for a great show. And we will see you guys in a week's time. And in the meantime, be kind out there. It's free, it's easy, and it will make somebody's day. Peace, love, happiness, and kindness to all. Signing off. Take care